What's up, everyone? We're back. Thank you guys for listening. This is Mike,
This
This
is
is Hol-
Tyrone.
this is
This is
Hollister.
Mental. This is Mental.
and welcome back to the podcast. We're still working on the name. If you go to our YouTube channel, please go to the channel. It's Sports Talk with the Fam on YouTube. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to grow the channel and trying to, get out there as far as our opinions, different things like that. And who doesn't love talking about sports? So yeah, as we already know, the NBA is resuming today. They boycotted. I want to say Wednesday. They boycotted. And that was a big pivotal move. And not only did they do that, it helped influence other leagues as far as like tennis players took a stand and didn't play. Football players didn't practice. MLB players didn't play their games. MLS, the Major League Soccer players didn't play. I think some NHL teams didn't play. So it was a big movement and I'm really proud of the guys. But there are mixed feelings about it. I see some like trolls on the internet, like, "Oh, they paused for one game, or they boycotted for one game. What is that supposed to do?" Blah blah blah, and not really understanding the point about it. Now I'm going to get into my take on it, but I want to start off with Hollister and see what he has to say about that and how he felt about it. So Hollister, go ahead.
I feel pretty okay. Like something is hopefully in the works of happening. Like hopefully a change. But I also definitely hope that the owners definitely step up and use their power to get up in contact with these people and make some changes because they definitely play a big part.
Facts.
They also need to back up their players because they have the authority to do it, which they should.
Hmm.
I think that's what might have happened behind the scenes, but they're not going to reveal nothing as yet. So hopefully that's what happens. And I'm proud of the players, all sports, all platforms, sticking up for everybody.
Facts.
Everybody can continue to use their platforms for more stuff like to persuade everybody to go out there and vote, push for change, and use since everybody's pretty much watching all these sports now, use that platform to push the changes that we want. Because
Yeah,
everybody's watching and listening, so this now is the time to do it, in a certain extent.
that's true. Menelik?
Yeah, I mean, just to follow up on what Hollister was saying. At the end of the day, it's great to see you know athletes from all sports. I mean, it was hockey, even baseball, football, tennis, like all over, show some form of solidarity. Now, I know some people, yeah, are going to say, well, oh, it's still just another gesture. Kind of what you was alluding to, Michael. Like,
Hmm.
people saying, oh, what's that going to do? Right? I mean, from what I've heard so far, it has led to the owners and the players working on one thing, which I think they're going to use the arenas as a
Yeah, I heard
voting
about that.
place. And, it's something that it's more than before they decided not to play. It forced everyone to, get together, look, reevaluate, and try to find some kind of a step. No one's saying you're necessarily going to have the full plan mapped out or fully know how to solve this issue. This is a systemic thing
Hmm.
that has been going on for decades. It's going to be very difficult to really get to the other side of it. It doesn't mean you don't try. And I think it's just showing you that they are trying in the way they know how, or it's not like there's a complete blueprint or rule book. And at the end of the day, something did happen, and I
Yeah.
guess we'll see what happens going forward.
Yeah. Cool. Tyrone?
Yeah, it was a bizarre day. It didn't wasn't expecting that until I turned the TV on. I'm watching Orlando warm up, and they're not showing Milwaukee. You heard days ago Toronto and Boston were contemplating doing it. It was only fitting that Milwaukee did it, and then as the time started dwindling on the warm ups, you saw they didn't come out. I said, yeah, they're boycotting. So as you heard things leak out, and with everything that's going on, I feel that they should have sent an even bigger message and not even play at all. But at the same time, I understand why they're continuing to play. But I kind of really don't know what to say about what they did yet because I don't think anything changed. I think they I think somebody they sweet talked them into continuing. I'm really confused by everything, to be honest with you. I think with this thing, I believe and support what the players are standing for, but I didn't understand really the the 2 days off. I'm kind of confused by it because I was expecting them to just walk out and just say, forget about it. Not saying that that's what I wanted, but that's what I was expecting. The way things were being said, and for them to come back, I didn't get why they had to come back or why they did they come back. So like I said, I wasn't supporting that. I'm just saying that's what I expected. I really don't know. As we get into the conversation, I guess I'll have more to come out and say, whether Michael and them or whatever they say, I may agree or disagree with something, but that's just my take on it right immediately right now is that I'm kind of a little like confused on what happened.
I feel you. So to touch on that, it's like this. This is how I look at it from. We are very proud as black men that the players stood up and took a stance like that, and it went beyond basketball. It went to all the different sports leagues, and it showed people that when it comes to certain things like this, that we all in a united front in a sense, you know what I mean? For the most part, you have clowns like Brian Urlacher and stuff like that. And I don't want to say clowns, people have their emotions and certain things, but they don't really get the point. And it's people like him, like we spoke about the last time, who they're missing the point. They just looking at it from a very, like, it has to be a hateful mentality because they're not getting a challenge. A lot of people take things at a selfish way and they don't really look at it from the perspective of the person to see where they're coming from. And that's how you grow. That's how you help society. Now, in regards to what you were saying, Tyrone, I felt a little bit like that too. There's, like I told you guys last time, the selfish part of me wanted them to continue to play basketball. But when you start looking at what they really want, right? We all want social and racial equality in this country, right? Especially African American black people. And I'm not even saying this to be cocky, but the world don't move without black people. Many things that black people have done, created, or the style and the factor that have been taken and utilized throughout this whole world in some way, shape, or form. Our culture is a very popular culture, right? And we all want that kind of justice. And I guess you got to look at it from the player's perspective, where like they're in the bubble, that they don't really hear what's going on. All they see is like Mickey Mouse and Princess Tatiana and all the other Disney characters in the facilities, and they just going back and forth. They hanging out. It's like a summer camp with no information going in, unless they go on social media and they see these viral videos. So the frustration of that, and to know that, wow, this thing is going on, and you kind of do feel like a court gesture in a sense, where he's like, yo, I'm out here playing ball and playing these games to entertain these people in a sense, and the stuff still hasn't changed. The stuff is still the same. Now, I understand that argument, and it's a part of me that kind of feels the same way, like, why am I doing this for you guys? You know what I'm saying? And making you money. But I also understand the argument of the financial part of it. I looked at this video, and it was a YouTube video that was talking about the tallest people who ever play on the planet or something like that or whatever. And they were talking about different players. And they mentioned Manu Bo. And, what he did back in the day when he got his money from the NBA is that he went back to his home country of Sudan. He invested that money to help the impoverished people, provide certain things for them. And he spent his whole career earnings in doing that in his country.
There's a documentary on that.
Exactly, right? So you look at Akon, took his money, went back to Africa.
Mutombo,
Hakeem Olajuwon, even like some other UFC fighters, even like Mbamute, like how he found some of these other players in NBA. So I'm saying that to say, giving you guys an example.
Yeah,
Manute Bol took his earnings, his money, his resources that he was able to afford of being an African athlete. Now, let's be honest. He was blessed with the height, so he can get paid millions of dollars to play a sport, right? And he took that money, he took that financial resource to help create change in his environment. So when Stephen A. and those other guys who said, like, these guys got to understand there's a partnership, blah, blah, blah. And to his point, you know what I mean? Yes, the NBA has been very, empathetic when it came to the players and how they felt. Let the players rock out, wear the stuff on their jerseys to a certain extent because they kind of like blocked those certain things like that. And doing the Black Lives Matter and actually giving them this platform to speak on these things, right? So in that sense, what the players need to do, like what Kyrie Irving did, he put his money where his mouth is. You know what I'm saying? He took the money, he gave money to the WNBA's players who decided to be on the front lines to do certain things. He helped certain other organizations in the communities that he is affiliated with to help with voting and help with other things in social, equality. So I'm saying that to say I agree to a certain extent with Stephen A. Smith. Like, you can't lose out on the bread. You know what I mean? Money changes things. We said this in the last episode. Money changes a lot of things in this country. Money runs a lot of things in this country. Money talks. Everything else is out the window. When you start affecting people's livelihood and income and money, that's when people really start to make changes. That's why you see a lot of these guys, you say something that's grimy or do something that's wrong, these sponsors cut you off in a heartbeat because they're not trying to lose their money. When they did Colin Kaepernick dirty, the NFL is like, yo, we don't want to lose our bottom line. We want blackball Kaepernick. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is that you want to have the resources. And if the players would have not played or continued to play, it would have caused them to lose that money and hurt the future generations of making this wealth where they can take that money to do something positive. And like your boy Jalen Brown said in this, like, you guys just want to leave the bubble because y'all lonely, you're not going to be in the front lines helping people and trying to get this message across, then why are you complaining for? Like, what is the issue? You know what I mean? We should just continue to play. So I do agree with that part of it. I don't agree with the Stephen A. part, like, oh, people got to go to work, and it's like if something happened that we all decide, you, Menelik, Hollister, and we all decide, you know what, we're not gonna play. We're not gonna go to work because this happened. Like, I get that part of it, but it is what it is. So I want to move over to that part of the conversation where people are looking at it where it's like, oh, that didn't make any sense. And I just want to see what you guys feel like. I know we kind of gave a general like feeling about the situation, but about that specific comment, do you feel or understand those points that I just said from Stephen A. and all that? So Melanie?
Yeah. So on the one hand, right, the fact that, it's a partnership and the NBA has helped, right? Like you said, money, right, makes the world go around. It runs everything. It makes change happen, right? Now, the NBA as an organization and a lot of the owners who are all, wealthy, influential people, they have access to people and things that the average person doesn't have access to, that can really lobby in certain cases and make some changes, right? So, and the NBA has been one of the, organizations in the country that has been, kind of at the forefront of, social justice kind of initiatives and things like that. Even if a lot of it has been, could be looked at as gestures in certain ways, they still give the players a voice. And as an organization that's popular and with an audience and a platform, yes, the players are a big part of that, right? But they have that voice, right? So working with them, right, it puts the focus. There's a lot of focus and information going on right now, right? Now, if the players were individually in marches and in their communities, things like that, right, that would get coverage because some players did that prior to the bubble and they got some coverage, right? But it might not get the kind of coverage like them even walking out on the game. Now, it's kind of, I don't know. So I understand, some of that, partnership, I guess, rhetoric where you want to consider, like, I don't like with a lot of these things, if it's not planned sometimes. And I think to what Tom was speaking to a little bit earlier about how, it's just like 2 days, they stop playing this, that, and the third. It is a kind of a weird situation where it seems like, okay, what, is really going on here, or did they just get sweet talked, or did they just allow this happen, that happening? But on the other end, it's, you know, sorry, but I don't know.
No,
It's
it's the same way I'm feeling. Like you just didn't see what was really accomplished. That's pretty much why you are kind of lost for words, like how I was. It's almost like, okay, so what was really done here? And what was really said in the meeting that they had? Like, yeah, they have a voice, the platform is there. Nothing really worked because there was another incident after, and it's like, okay, so you guys protested a game Wednesday and Thursday. What really, now y'all playing again Saturday, so what really happened? Like that's
I mean,
like, yeah,
yeah,
that's
well,
that's
yeah,
pretty
not
much.
like I said, yeah, like in some sense, but I do feel like it did do something because,
Well, yeah, it
like,
brought a
once
little
again,
more
it is a
attention.
little bit still gestures, but
Yeah,
you know, the fact that other sports did do that, and they did at
yeah,
least get the
yeah. They
owners to
got the
get in a
attention.
room. They got
Hmm.
that attention, and they are doing this voting thing. And I think there's might be an agreement for the owners of each team to do something. It's like a social
Yeah,
justice initiative as well. So
Yeah.
it's just like it can seem like, okay, was this the right thing? Was that not the right
Yeah.
thing? Plus, I think they said that like some of the players like talked to Obama,
Yeah, they
and
said LeBron
as
and like
far
Chris
as,
Paul and them
yeah,
reached out to
trying
him
to
and stuff
come
like
up
that.
with their thing. What I think happened, and okay, I kind of remember somewhat where I was going and how I lost it somewhat. So what I
Okay.
think was happened was the initial kind of reaction was a little bit emotional,
Yeah.
understandably so, and it wasn't really planned or organized or thought, what do we want? It was like, we're going to do this thing because we're tired, right? And
Yeah.
that's important sometimes. But because of that, right, then it was kind of a scramble to be like, all right, what we going to do? What are we going to do? How are we going to, what do we want? This, that, and the third. So I think because the way it happened initially was probably a little more emotional, they weren't ready to really have it a little more organized and planned to have that ultimate objective, right? And then when they got in the room and they put everything together and they thought about this and that and they heard different people's sides and perspectives, it came to, well, you know, at the end of the day, you know, like to Michael said, there's the thing about the money, right, where it's going to help the future generations in that sense, right? Also, you know, the players and the owners being in a better position overall financially can lead to some other things as well. So, and the NBA, the playoffs, this whole thing is a focus. It is some kind of a spotlight. It is, you know, a way to help keep the focus or the attention. It might be a little bit, you know, mixed where there's always attention on the games, but it's also still attention on the players. It's a reminder about the Black Lives Matter and the players getting to speak, you know, sometimes after games, do this, do that. So it is a complex thing. And like I said, I'm still trying
Yeah.
to put everything together how I feel about it. But
I
I
mean,
do
go
understand
ahead.
some of those points that
Yeah.
he was making. And it's with the whole work thing too. It's like, yeah, it's like, okay, a lot of people did sacrifice and it was this thought and they took you at your good faith that, okay, we want to come back, we're going to come back, and we plan to try and finish the season. Like you made an agreement with somebody and to do work, quote unquote. And now you're like, well, this thing happened. And now we're just going to go back on all of that, all the goodwill that you guys put forward for us to some extent, even though it wasn't really having the kind of impact we wanted to. We're just going to forget all that and all the sacrifices and the work that went into this agreement, and we're not going to come to work anymore. And so I get that aspect too, to some extent, even though I think you still have to take a stand sometimes and you still have to, you know, do things. And I do feel like something came of this, but yeah, it's just a complex thing. But that's my, like, not fully clear, but my thoughts, my random thoughts on some of that stuff.
So what Malik was saying earlier, as far as like the platform, like we have to be honest to ourselves. Like when Doc Rivers said his piece, right? No one would have heard that. if he did it on his own, or he did it in his neighborhood or anything like that. He might not even had the opportunity to even speak in front of cameras. He probably would have been at home and spoke to it, but with his wife or something like that. So the argument of the platform is very important. If you look at Muhammad Ali, you look at Bill Russell and those guys, they utilize their fame and their platform to say things. But Muhammad Ali never bit his tongue when he went on these shows. He said what he had to say. Even when he went to jail for not going to Nam, you know what I'm saying? He said what he had to say, let people know what it was and why he went. You know what I mean? So you need to have, and right now, especially in the state of what's going on right now in the world with the pandemic, there's nothing else going on. Everybody's clinging to sports for this, relief or some type of sense of normalcy. Exactly. So for them to go out there and speak on it, it becomes something that's like, all right, we have to listen. However, it does get to a point where it starts to get stale. And I feel that, it's like Malik said earlier, it's just a gesture, like like we said the last episode, putting Black Lives Matter on the court, on their jerseys, or, arrest the people of Breonna Taylor. It starts to sound like a cliche type of thing where it doesn't have any like volume behind it. Now, we have to be realistic as well. This has been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years, even before we came to this country as slaves, right? We have been hated on for a long time. So the basketball players not playing is not going to help really tremendously end that particular, part of what's going on in this country. However, that stance that they took and for the other leagues to follow suit really did show to people that we're going to be in a one of athletes. They're going to be united for the most part. You got some other athletes, like I said, any bunch, you're going to have people going to hate, but it showed their power. And with a boycott is being uncomfortable. So yes, people will lose money, and that idea is part of it. When the bus boycott happened back in the 60s, people had to walk miles to go to work. You know what I'm saying? They didn't get on the bus for we to have the right to sit where we want to sit in the bus and not be discriminated. Sorry, the smoke. Anyway, but at the end of the day, what I just want to say is that there's always two sides to the story, or three if you want to be technical. You know what I mean? Their side, your side, and the truth, right? And for what was happening and what was being said throughout this whole meeting, to Malik's point, it was very true. The Bucks took it upon themselves. Like, look, man, this happened in our state. We're going to take care of this. We're going to be not playing. And everybody had to follow suit. So I think the initial emotional part of it got people riled up. Other players was kind of pissed off, like, why they ain't say nothing about it. And then once the momentum started to go, people were reacting on emotions. And that's what I was saying last time. Emotions are good, but it's very dangerous to just always just react based on emotion. The enemy, and I'm talking about the racist people. I'm not talking about, I don't want people to think, they talking about white people the enemy. No, the racist people, the people who are out there to try to hurt us, they're not thinking on that level. While we emotionally getting up there and we going to loot in and we rioting, which is still good. I'm not hating on that, and I'm not making no disrespect to anybody who does that. Look, do what you got to do. But as those things are happening, they are the ones in this background taking emotions out of it and making their schemes and their plans, and they're using the resources that they have, whether it be monetary or whatever it is, political, and they're getting the certain things to keep us in the state that we in. So what the players realized when they had this conversation, and shout out to Michael Jordan, a lot of people was criticizing Mike back in the day, and I know it's a different climate back then. He didn't want to lose his bread on certain things, but he has been a tremendous help in this whole thing. His team not even playing in the bubble. And he got in there, he talked to Russ personally, he talked to Chris Paul, and he just told the owners, at this point, we just need to just sit back and listen to the players and let them have a voice and vent themselves. And that was a tremendous move for him. He has also committed $300 million over 10 years for social justice. And some of the NBA has also matched that in some capacity. So to that, I want to say that that's how you have to move. You have to move with resources as far as getting these things written on paper, because slavery, as evil and grimy it was legal in this country because it was on paper that it was legal to have it. So even though, people think that because something is, legal makes it right, it's not. You know what I'm saying? So we need to get the reforms in there. A lot of people want to say training and training and training and training. That is part of it. Some people are just nerds and they just don't understand it and they need training, but you can't really utilize that. For me personally, is that when I see white counterparts, and we said this last time, doing more egregious crimes, walking around with weapons and look more of a threat, and they get the civility of the police actually trying to protect and serve and de-escalate a situation. They don't shoot first and do anything like that. They don't get dehumanized when they mention them in the paper or in the news like black people do. Like I said the other day, God forbid something happened to one of us, they're gonna find the most hood picture we took, probably when we was like 8. They might find that picture when we went to the Ringling Brothers Circus and we had the swords in the ground and like, look at that, they're wielding weapons and posing as gangsters and use that as like something to discredit us. You know what I mean? So I always had that feeling that, look, man, you know, we have to try to like get away from emotions and really try to utilize the voice and the platform, but also put your money where your mouth is. You don't want to be a person, especially the NBA players, man. They have tremendous resources. We as individuals, we don't have those type of resources. Now we can still do things in our community. We can still do things in our neighborhoods and stuff like that, and do like, you know, voting and different things and try to like, you know, help people along those lines. But these NBA players, they have their fame, they have their money, they have their platform. They can do a lot more. So if they really take a conscious effort, like how people like Jalen Rose, LeBron, and some other NBA players who are doing these things, not for tax write-offs, but actually to do it to really help kids and help people in the community, I think we can definitely institute change and change things in that level. Moving on from that part of it, I wanted to touch base on, they had this. Well, first of all, I forgot to even say this in the beginning, man. Shout out to Chadwick Boseman. May he rest in peace.
Yes, rest in peace.
2020
Yes,
was crazy,
Inshallah.
and you know, a lot of people dying. Clifford Robertson died today. He's the NBA player, played against the Chicago Bulls in 1992. With the Portland Trailblazers. That's the one Michael Jordan hit on threes, and he was like, I don't know, you know, Michael Jordan did the shrug on, and you know, it sucks when people are passing, and you know, Chadwick, he had cancer, he still was acting, still try to fight it, and then when he was posting his, you know, his story about it, you know how we get sometimes some people, they started clowning him for the weight loss and didn't understand, like, you know, people didn't know why he was doing that, you know what I mean, and then not really going behind it, and then he passed, and now everybody like, oh, you know, Wakanda forever. But may he rest in peace, and all those that we lost, may they rest in peace. I think this is like the anniversary to when Mama died and stuff like that. So may she rest in peace, and all those that we lost, you know, our uncles, aunts, grandparents, everything. So this a quick moment of silence for them, and then we move on to the next topic. So thanks, guys. So during the whole meetings they was having, they said it got really heated, and players were saying certain things. They had one thing with Patrick Beverly and Michelle Roberts, and he was getting OD. But his thing is not as, it's still wrong. He shouldn't disrespect her and getting all upset and emotional. What he was trying to say, he did come back and say, you know, we family, but you know, you don't always agree with your family, and sometimes things happen, and that's, he gonna leave it at that. But some people felt that he kind of went overboard by cutting her off while she was trying to tell him the financial ramifications of not playing, as well as saying that, yo, he don't care because he paid her salary and etc. and etc. Whatever. That's a clown move, but they got through it and they came to a resolution. The major thing that I heard, and I was listening to this yesterday when I was driving to get some parts for the car, or just to get something assessment, was that some people are not feeling how LeBron was talking in the meeting and how he stormed out, and some players was looking at him like, yo, what he's talking about. Because I'm just paraphrasing it. I don't know the whole extent. I don't have sources like Stephen A. Smith, but they were saying that, yo, he was talking as if like, you know, these cats, you know, I got to worry about the cats beneath me and all this stuff like that, and like as if he's like really a king, and he's like he had to worry about his kingdom. You know what I'm saying? And like really like going at it was like, these cats don't know better, and I got to be the one to carry the torch and do that. And like it was Tyron and I was making jokes about this, but we was trying to say that he probably was tight. That, I mean, most of them will be tight. You didn't let us know what's going on. We got to move in one unison. I get that, but was it because they didn't move in one like that, or is it because that he wasn't the one to be like, yo, I'm the one to kind of like lead the troops and lead the pack as saying that F this, we gonna boycott? You get what I'm saying? So people felt a certain kind of way. Some players, even the players on his team, kind of felt like, "Yo, what you talking about?" You know what I'm saying? And other players was feeling that, and I wanted to get you guys' opinion on that. So, Tyrone.
Well, I couldn't wait to talk about this. This is pretty much what I've always seen in him. I've always seen this. I've always looked through some of his phoniness. Don't get me wrong. He's one of the best players ever. He's one of the best philanthropies that we've ever seen.
It sounds very hard when you say one of the best players ever. Like your voice kind of one of the best player ever. Like it hurt you to say that.
I mean, it's listen. Our all-time team will come up one day, and people will be surprised where I put him. But I mean, yeah, he's an all-time great. Don't get me wrong, but he's not. You know, we're not going to get into that. But yeah, he's a great player, and we know his philanthropy work and everything like that, as Stephen A. brought up. But I've always looked through that and will see an arrogant side to him, whether it's on the court or something he said in the media. I've always looked at him as sort of arrogant and thinking that he's better. I mean, the man has chosen one on tattooed on him. He calls himself king. Like a lot of the nicknames he had was self-given. Don't get me wrong. I know Kobe came up with the Black Mamba for himself, but I mean, we all know Kobe was arrogant. Kobe didn't care. He let you know he was arrogant. But LeBron comes off as being arrogant.
James, because of the fact that like when he was younger, there was like the chosen one, and it's like because his last name is James, and you got the
he called
Bible, and he called him King James.
No, you could look at he came up with that himself. But forget about that. But what I was saying, at least with Kobe, he wanted to be arrogant. He came out and put it on his sleeves. LeBron tends to pretend like he's not, and he'll say it's sometimes it's the way he talks. It just sounds arrogant.
And his
it just
body
sounds
language.
arrogant. The body language is. I remember the time when the Heat lost to Dallas Mavericks, and he told everybody, "Oh, y'all could go back to living y'all lives while I live my life." Something like that he said.
Go back to living your miserable lives.
Yeah, something like that. So that was one of the first things that turned me off with him. That was one of the first things that turned me off with him.
Wait, before you continue, right? But in his defense and that, I mean, it's still grimy. It's still wrong that he said that. But I don't think he was trying to like lash out. And I'm not trying to make this.
He was lashing out because people destroyed him because Jason Terry was giving him the business in that.
No, I'm not trying to say it like that. I'm trying to say in a sense that he was so mad at the trolls, and he was trying to say, "Look, I'm good. I can live my life and do my thing when y'all gotta live y'all miserable lives watching me play." So he was trying to get.
You didn't have to add the word. You didn't have to add the word miserable.
I understand that, but I guess he was saying
miserable.
But people are the type of people that wanted to like troll. It's not right. But
that's the thing when you're a celebrity and you have that platform, that word platform we always bring up. You have to watch what you say sometimes because you can't bring it back once you say it. So whether he meant it that way or not, you got to be careful when you speak. And he's a smart guy. He knows how to speak. And at that time, he said what he said, and it rubbed me the wrong way till this day because I actually used to like him. I used to actually like him. Until he did the South Beach move, which was a punk move to me. And then he got arrogant and he thought, yeah, I'm going to get mines now. And then Dirk Nowitzki and them put that rude awakening on him that first year. Let him know that this ain't going to be easy. Because, he's talking about not 4, not 5, not 6 and all that. So
I mean,
when he said that rubbed me. That
4 easy when he got 3. So it's not.
Yeah.
4, 6. He's counting his losses.
He got a shot at 4 though. So we can't deny that. So, when I always had a disdain for him after that. So when I heard this stuff going on, it was pretty much like, well, I've always seen through that. I've always seen that. It's nothing surprising to me. I believe everything that was said because it was players that were in the meeting that was giving Stephen A. this information because he said it. He said he didn't say sources. He said players that were in the meeting and people that were in the meeting. So I believe it. They said
that's what I mean about. You mean his sources who told him that?
But he didn't use the word sources this time. That's what I'm saying. He actually
said a couple of times. He said sources a couple of times.
No, but he actually did. He actually
spoke to and stuff like that.
Right.
Too.
That's what I'm saying. He actually did say players. Like he didn't. Of course, he ain't calling no names, but he did say players, and it's I wasn't surprised at all. Not at all. The Patrick Beverly thing, I heard that wasn't even true. I'm not sure how that went. Like I heard it was said that Patrick Beverly himself said he said that, but someone said that was in the meeting said that he didn't say that. So I don't really know what to say about that.
I mean, if
But
Patrick's really gonna say he said it, then I'm gonna take his word.
but Patrick, yeah, Patrick
So,
Beverly
I mean,
gonna he
why would
don't he
Like,
wears his emotion on his sleeve, so I kind of believe what he'll
yeah,
say
I
too.
believe he said that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
'Cause trust me,
So
like, just like KG, like when KG
so
said the thing about Charlie Villanueva, I know he said that. When he said, "I was saying you was a cancerous person to the league," like I already knew he was
no, he
lying.
said he looked like a cancer patient, but
I know that. But what I'm trying to say, when KG
I'm glad you know that
said,
because that's your boy.
"I see you a cancer to the league," I knew that he was
No,
lying. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to say. Because I know
no. no.
I knew he was lying when he said that. I knew he didn't say that. He probably didn't mean it in that sense.
I'm glad you know that your boy's a
I mean,
liar.
I know. But Hollister, what is your take on that?
The whole LeBron thing when I heard that he stormed out the room and almost the entire Lakers team left except for Dwight Howard, and the Clippers walked out the whole meeting. I don't think he should have did nothing like that. Yeah, he's the face of the NBA. I guess in a sense he wanted to be the one to speak out. But I guess the fact that Chris Paul, who was the NBPA, the president or something like that?
Yeah, he's the president of the Players Association.
Yes, I guess LeBron, in a sense, wanted to Chris Paul, I guess, to dictate to him so LeBron could be the one to come out and say. But Chris Paul is the president of that association. He said what he said. He stood up for the players as he should have. And like Tyrone was saying earlier, LeBron is that type of person. He's arrogant. He always wants the center of attention. He wants everybody, like he said, to follow his lead and things of that nature. The fact that everybody didn't do it, I guess he must have got pissed off. And to hear that him and the Clippers, they actually wanted to leave the whole bubble all entirely and not play and not finish the season is kind of surprising. But it's like there's more to it. You just gotta wait and find out what happened.
I think the Clippers and Malik, I'll let you get into it. I just wanted to address one or two things with damn it, Hollister said. Well, whereas like with the LeBron thing, look, man, to me at that level, you have to have some level of arrogance. So I look at it like Kobe Bryant was arrogant, Michael Jordan was arrogant to a certain extent. LeBron, to be a great player, you have to be kind of arrogant. But I think, to like your point, I think what happened was Chris Paul and they are boys. Chris Paul, he's looking at it from non-emotional. He's looking at, you know what, I'm the president of the Player Association. I have to look at this thing. I have to talk to these guys, reach out to them. He was tight too. He's like, look, guys, we came here, we made an agreement. You got to let us know. This is bigger than what we tried to talk about before. If you're going to make a move like that, we all got to do it. That's why the rest of the teams follow suit. Because if the other teams didn't do it and they went and played, the Bucks would look like clowns, and then it would have been a whole nother story. But they all came out after. Now, they was tight. And I think that's what happened that night. Like initially, the anger was hitting them because it was like, yo, why did you guys just come out and tell us? Like, I think that was the main thing. If you're going to do that, let us know ahead of time before you just did it. You know what I'm saying? So I think LeBron and him coming in there and the Lakers leaving is like, oh, he was just trying to like, yo, y'all didn't let me know, blah, blah, blah. So that's why LeBron had to send out that tweet like, F that, we're done, to show that he's kind of quote unquote in solidarity with them. But at the end of the day, I don't think he was. I think he was pissed. He's like, look, we're here. We're supposed to play. You know what I mean? I'm pretty much saying I'm good. I got bread. You know what I'm saying? I got my stuff. You know what I mean? Y'all the one coming here doing this, blah, blah, blah. So I think it's a little bit along those lines with it. But Melik, you go ahead and say your piece.
Yeah, so pretty much I was going to say something similar to that I feel like it was, like, we don't know all the details, all the things that was decided. I mean, we know Chris Paul is a player of the NBA Players Association, and then, LeBron is kind of the face of the NBA and in certain ways has been the face of social justice kind of, not necessarily initiatives, but when you think about that stuff, he's always kind of been at the forefront in the league and on that stuff. So I feel like he probably felt like, or maybe they had some discussion where like we move together, or this is how we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Decisions were made. And then once again, Milwaukee probably acted on emotion and then probably also just didn't tell them. So then they didn't know what was going on. So then they put everybody in a position. And then LeBron probably could consider himself, in a sense, the leader in a certain way, as the kind of face, as a vet. And who knows if, there was any, discussions had, or like, all right, this is how we're going to move and this is how we're going to do. And then they went outside of that. And yeah, like you guys were saying, to be great, a lot of the times, a lot of people who reach a certain level of greatness are sometimes kind of arrogant, because you got to have a certain belief in yourself to get there. So I do feel like, yeah, maybe he was looking at it like, okay, I'm supposed to be the face of this or this stuff, or we supposed to move. Now it's gonna have us looking crazy. Because like you said, let's say the other teams was like, yo, we don't know Milwaukee on, or let's say they didn't even know, right, per se, and then they went out, you know, let's say some way they just didn't find out, and it was like games, or what, one game was supposed to be in the middle and the other team was about to go out, then it just makes them look disorganized, or it makes it look where, okay, these people are doing this and these people aren't doing this, and then it could create potential division within the the players in the NBA and everything like that, when it's supposed to be unified in a certain kind of way if you're trying to really move forward in a certain sense. So I think some of that stuff probably factored in, and I do think it's probably a little bit too a LeBron feeling like, I'm kind of the face of this thing, and they shouldn't have probably moved that way. So now we got to react, and what would be the best way. And then it just kind of got out of hand. Everybody, emotions is high. They all confined in a space with each other all the time. They got to see this guy and that guy, and this one saying this and that. Then they away from their families, all the craziness going on in the world, like people's mental health probably ain't where it needs to be. So I think it's just probably a combination of several factors. But kind of like what Hollis said, we probably won't never know the full story. Maybe someday they'll do some 30 for 30 or some other kind of thing on the meeting. Somebody gonna have some camera footage or some cell phone footage or something, and we get eyes on the meeting. Who knows? But I guess until then, we won't fully know. But I think it's probably a few factors.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy because, like you said, from what, babe? So I think that whole thing that's going on, man, is just, it's a lot. And I mean, as fans and then people who are invested in this cause, it's kind of hard, to kind of like grasp what's going on. Like I said, I try to look at both sides of it. I try to understand why some people might feel a certain way and try to do certain things, which is why, I can understand some level of like what Michael Wilbon and Stephen A. Smith was saying in regards, good job, as far as that, what they were saying in regards to the whole, movement, and what they were trying to do. My thing is that we don't know. This thing is deeply ingrained in this country and this world. So it's not going to be an overnight thing. And there's a lot of pressure to put on the athletes to kind of like, carry the torch in a sense for these things. You know what I mean? We all have a part to play in this movement and in trying to get things to be better for us. You know what I mean? And I know it's hard for us to even think about like what we can do. You know what I mean? Sometimes you might see somebody in the neighborhood, you want to talk to them, but then they acting stupid and you just got to deal with your own thing. But if there's ways we can help, I feel that we should try to find ways to do things in a constructive way and help those who want to be helped. You know what I mean? Because there's some people who don't care. There's some people who don't understand. There's some people where you try to teach them and try to tell them they don't want to listen. And you don't want to waste your time beating a dead horse and trying to do those things. So I say all that to say is that, I still am with the players. You know what I mean? I do understand the logic and the reasoning behind it, because they lost a lot of money those couple of days of the game's not playing. And I know that they're going to try to find a way to get it back at the players with that. And that's part of the sacrifice, and that's okay. But the last topic I want to kind of swing on and talk about is I was looking at First Take again, and they were talking to Marcus Spears, and the topic was, do you feel that what the NBA did, right, put pressure on the NFL players to do something similar, and etc. And Marcus Spears, take was that, look, man, the NFL been doing that. Kaepernick did that 4 years ago. The man lost his job, and they've been speaking up on racial things and etc. and etc. And I have a take on it, but I don't want to say my piece yet until after you guys go. So Mel, like, what do you feel about that statement?
I mean, I'm not as well versed on everything that was done in the NFL in a certain sense. I remember when Kaepernick and Eric Reed and those guys were, you know, taking the knee to speak out on it, and then a lot of people talked about that and their opinions on it around then, and that was a significant thing, and that has had um, some kind of a ripple effect. But from once again, I'm not an expert on it, but from what I've seen and heard throughout the years, and I think it's kind of the consensus amongst a lot of people as far as the organization standpoint, the NBA has been more in line with giving the players more of a voice and a say in hearing them out in a sense, whereas somewhat in baseball, football, and certain other sports, it hasn't been the case, and not in a certain level. Even a couple years ago with the Clippers situation when Donald Sterling had the team,
Yep.
and a lot of players spoke out, said this, they said that, and what happened? He was end up forced to sell the team, and there was some change in that arena, like a legitimate change. Sometimes in the NFL, once again, not an expert in everything, but some things were talked about, discussed, things might have happened, and people knew where the players stood. I'm not saying players didn't speak out and say certain things, but because of the organization being historically a little more less willing to kind of truly listen to their players, less real kind of change or something based on that stuff happened. I'm not saying nothing, but I feel like from what I've seen, I feel like it
Yeah.
happened more in the NBA because of the organization, the leadership there was just different, and then the relationship between the players and the organization in the NBA seems to just be stronger. Like they were willing to listen to each other.
Okay. So before I go to Hollister, do you feel that in the light of what the NBA did, the NFL players need to be willing to do the same? And if they put more pressure on them, or is that what, they be good, or like who is the pressure more on them, or it's like they've been doing it so that they good?
Oh, okay.
Oh, let Melly finish this part and then you can go in, Hollister.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, on the one hand, I do feel like they should probably keep pushing forward. So I don't want to say it in the sense of they haven't done something or they haven't done enough. Because their argument could be in a general sense that Kaepernick doing it started this whole thing, this recent thing. Period. Right? Yeah, people have spoke about things, but that has been the kind of most recent cultural kind of thing that came out that really, pushed a lot forward in a certain sense overall. But within the NFL itself, I feel like there hasn't been as much change in the league. So I think it's on them to
I got you.
find out how can we leverage the fact that we do have this, icon in a sense, a social justice icon in Kaepernick, and certain history with that and other things in the league. And how can we leverage that to make the NFL more inclusive in certain ways and to enact certain change. I mean, not trying to go fully there with that. Jay's my guy, but like how Jay Z went and tried to do a deal with the NFL and the commissioner there and stuff like that. Yeah, we don't know all the specifics and the particulars.
Yeah.
And I know he had some other individuals, players, and other people involved, and he talked to certain people didn't talk to some other ones, but that's a whole other controversy I'm not going to get into. But I do feel like, yeah, the NFL players probably, people are going to probably look to the players to push more change forward in the NFL.
Okay, cool. Hollister?
I feel like the NFL might have a little bit more pressure than the NBA to keep this thing going, especially with the whole Kaepernick situation back in 2016. And as of recently, Roger Goodell apologized to Kaepernick and said he wished he listened to him earlier. So, people are going to look more forward to that, how to see how that follows up and see what the NFL owners do and the players do as well, too, and the commissioner, which I think they really should keep it going. All sports platforms should keep it going as the season, finishes, the next one starts. They should all keep pushing this whole thing until some things start to change. Because like we've been saying all day, they all have that platform. Everybody tunes in to the NFL on Sundays and Thursdays and Super Bowl time and all kinds of things like that, where they could really use this to make a big change, and they should.
I agree.
One other thing I'll add real quick is I'll just say too that I
Go to
think is
Tyra.
also about them being organized together. Like, even though now we see this meeting with the NBA players and there was a little confusion, disjointed argument back and forth, I feel like a lot of people feel like during the Kaepernick thing, maybe if more players really took a stand with him or refused to do certain things or did something all together, that there might have been more change and more change sooner, or other things could have been different. So I think that might be partially too with that.
Got you.
And I also feel like a lot of
Go ahead,
players.
Hollister.
I also feel like a lot
Pressure
of players
comes
might
to
not
them
be as
being more
scared.
unified.
Yeah.
And I also feel like a lot of players might not be as scared now to take a stand that Kaepernick did, and now everybody see what's really going on.
Mm-hmm. Tyrone, before I get into
my personal opinion, I love the NFL. I watch it even when everything happened with Colin. I still watched. I know some didn't. I'm still gonna watch because I'm a fan of the players, not the organizations and the owners and all that. That being said, I think the NFL is too late. It's too little, too late for me. If you ask me, the man did it 4 years ago. He fought for the same exact thing 4 years ago, and not only did they ignore him, they criticized him and then eventually blackballed him. They made a sideshow of him. They embarrassed him. They tried to humiliate him even more. They came with this sideshow of a tryout, quote unquote tryout. Why does a player need a tryout at a public place with a bunch of GMs? Like, why couldn't this be individual workouts and stuff? Like, why did he have to get that specific kind of attention? I kind of think they were hoping he would fail and he wouldn't be good enough because it's been 3-4 years. I think they waited long enough to see if his skills deteriorated and he passed his prime, and then said, okay, let's give him a shot now. And then he stood for what he stood for. He said, I'm not doing all of that. I'm gonna have it here. I don't want to do this. They gave him waivers, and like, nobody signs this kind of stuff when they're doing tryouts. So I think they, like, I don't want to hear your apology now because you cost this man 4 years of his career. He was 28 when 27 or 28, I believe, when he started taking the knee. You took 4 years out of this man's NFL career in the middle of his prime, regardless of how he was playing before that. You took that away from him, and everybody was mum. Everybody was quiet on whether a team would give Kaepernick a trial. Everybody, it was a blackball. It's a straight out blackball. So now that George Floyd got choked out for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, Jacob Blake gets shot at 7 times in the back. Breonna Taylor gets shot. This one gets shot. That one. Now we should apologize to Colin Kaepernick. We should. I should have listened before. Why you didn't listen before? You have no idea how much things could have been different had anybody, at least half of the people, would have listened to Colin Kaepernick or supported him. Even his own teammates. He had one teammate, Eric Reed, because I'm a 49er fan, so I know Eric Reed was probably the only guy, and he was even blackballed for about a year or a year and a half or so until the Carolina Panthers signed him. So now guys get killed, a woman get killed. Now all of a sudden you're apologizing. It's a joke. Roger Goodell's a joke. That's why he's hated amongst NFL fans and sport fans. He's hated as a commissioner, and it's a joke. We should have listened to him. I apologize. I wouldn't even want your apology. You see, Colin's taking the high road. But me, I'd lash out. Like, that's the kind of person I am. You didn't want to listen to me. Now you're listening to me. You thought I was just trying to bring attention to myself. No, I wasn't. This is what's really going on in the world. This is what we've been saying for years and years and years. The 70s, the 80s, the 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s. This has been going on forever. Rappers rap about it. Tupac Shakur rapped about it all the time. All these rappers used to rap about things that go on in the world with police and black people and how they're treated in the ghetto. This is nothing new. Nothing new. This is nothing new. And now people get killed on video because it's on video now. That's the only reason why. That's the only reason why people are paying attention now, because it's on video. Now all of a sudden it's, oh wow, this is really what's going on. It's if you ask me, I think it's a load of BS with the NFL. The pressure in my behind. I think they lost all kind of respect from me and other people. I still watch because I love the game, but as far as them helping with social justice, I don't even want their help, to be honest with you.
Okay.
That's pretty much all I got to say about it, because I'm kind of getting a little upset about it.
I got you. I mean, y'all all made valid points, and I wanted to dance on this real quick, and then I'm gonna say my piece. Where I don't want to get it to the point, because that Marcus Spears was kind of saying this, and I kind of felt like a little bit kind of like, and he even said, I'm not trying to take away any credit or trying to make it like, oh, we did it first and yada yada yada, because of the Kaepernick thing. Because a lot of times we get into this stance like, who started this group first, who did this, and it's like, who cares who started what first? Is the message, and if that's the message, then we're gonna follow through with that. Doesn't matter who started it. We just want to get to a resolution. So, with that being said, yes, the NFL has, Colin Kaepernick was the first one to actually take a stance in the NFL, because the NFL has always been this kind of plantation type of atmosphere. And I hate to say it like that, but out of all the sports, the NFL has been ran where the owners have the majority of the say and is the next man up. If I tell you, and Malik, you a quarterback, and you decide you want to do the social justice thing, all right, get him out of here and get him somebody else up in there. That's just the mentality. It's like next man up. It's 53 people on each team. They don't even care. So what they did was stifle his voice. You know what I mean? The NBA players, when they had the Eric Gardner thing, they had the shirts, I can't breathe. They were able to like express themselves freely. So it looked as if that they weren't really taking a big stance, because the NBA allows their players to express themselves, because the NBA realized, look, the majority of our players, our money makers are black. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. You get like a Luka here and there, but the majority of the people are black. You get what I'm saying? And the NFL, because they still have this kind of old school borderline racist mentality where the quarterback has to be white. The quarterback, is like the most prestige position, and these athletes and different things like that. And that is America's new pastime. You know what I mean? Like baseball used to be the joint back in the day, but football has that kind of cachet and power. And so I would say the NFL players have more pressure because of the fact that the NBA, we watch basketball. A lot of people watch basketball, but more people watch football. When I go to visit my in-laws and my nieces and nephews and stuff like that down in Virginia, I ride the train. Everybody talking about football, whether it's high school football, college football, NFL football. Everybody talking about football. All the kids want to play football because that is their bread and butter. You know what I'm saying? But inner city kids, well, we like basketball because we play basketball or baseball. That's our thing. So to me, I feel the pressure's on them, because at the end of the day, like Tyrone said earlier too, is that you guys had a guy who stood up for that. And this is like I said, this is only a small cog in this whole, racial inequality, the police reform. And he was saying like, it's not right. And they blackballed him. And the reason why they did that is because racist people, they don't want to hear that they're doing racist things, right? When you tell somebody who's doing something wrong to you and you're telling them that this is wrong, they don't want to hear it. So they get mad. Oh, stick to doing your other thing. I don't want to hear how much I hate you. I love you because you're on my team and we're winning. But when I see you in person, or if I hear you talking about certain things that affect other people that don't look like me, I don't want to hear it. And that's the attitude that a lot of these racist people take. So when they tell you to shut up and dribble, when they tell you, oh, shut up and go on the field and do whatever, they don't want to hear that. And I believe 100%, which is accurate, is that not only because Kaepernick was blackballed because of his stance, he's blackballed because he is a quarterback. He's a person that most people know. Like, I know the majority of quarterbacks, more quarterbacks than I know receivers and running backs, because those are the people that get talked about. You know what I'm saying? So
That's true.
because you're the face of the franchise, right? I can't have you on my team, because if he was a receiver, a running back, he would have been back in the league. I guarantee it. Because
No, it's true. It's
he would
true.
have been back in the league. But
I
because
didn't
he was
even
a
think. I didn't
quarterback,
even think of that.
because he's a quarterback and he
Yeah.
had to get that shine, there's like, nah, we can't do it, because the quarterback is looked at as the leader of the guys. That's why it always have to be a white person for majority of the time, unless you like a freaking Pat Mahomes or
No, there's a
Sean Watson. I'm not trying to say there isn't any other people. What I'm trying to say is that
there's a
unless you're super nice, or people be like, yo, this cat is dope. Like, you look at Lamar Jackson, right? Lamar Jackson. Look, the cat is so crazy that people got to talk about. Like, this cat is dope, but what they talk about, he can't throw. You know what I mean? He's not like an Aaron Rodgers. They still got to bring it back to somebody, or Brett Favre. They still got to bring it back to that. Back to that. You know what I mean? Because they look at that quarterback as being so cerebral and all this other stuff like that. So to me, the pressure's on the NFL players, and there are some NFL players who started and not doing it. So this is not a discussion about who did it first and who did it better and other stuff like that. It's about, yes, the NBA right now is a sport that is doing everything. They're the sport that people are trying to emulate to have success. They're the sport that they have the power. The NFL could get shut down if COVID start to spike in these teams, you know what I'm saying? And that'll be the reason where the NBA decided, like, you know what, we're going to shut it down because we didn't like what's going on, and we had that choice because there was no negative positive test for like months. So what I'm saying is that the NBA, yes, they set that groundwork for this new era of this social advancement. And yes, don't get me wrong, the NBA got the NBA players and baseball players, they got guaranteed contract, they making their bread. NFL is like, hey man, you could be killing it for me, you're running back, you get hurt, you can't play, sorry, you can't get paid. You know what I'm saying? And they always been kind of grimy like that. And to the point that a lot of people who watch football or people who know of it, they don't really respect the football players anymore, because all they think of them just out there running around like running around and getting hit and then getting, like, you know, left out there for dead, because the sport is so brutal and your shelf life is so, like, you know, short that, you know what I'm saying, you could be the super talented person. Look at Alex Smith. The cat was supposed to be one of the nicest quarterbacks out there. Get his legs snapped up. He thought it was gonna be a routine. You know, I have surgery, I get back out there. The man haven't played for years, lost muscle tissue and all that stuff like that, and, you know, damn near lost his leg. You get what I'm saying? So they got more pressure, man. They gotta really take and if they actually were to be like the NBA players and decide, you know what, we're gonna boycott and we're not gonna play regardless of the fact that we ain't got no bread, some of these players ain't gonna have no money, they will really get changed, because them people want to watch their football. The freaking college football, they fighting amongst each other because they want to watch them boys and them play. That is a big business. Big business. One of the biggest sports in this country is football. So
it's the biggest.
yeah, thank you. You know what I'm saying? So if they would have been like, nah, we ain't playing, trust me, their voice would be heard. So the pressure's on them. And like I said, it's look, we all putting a lot on these players. And like I said, it starts with us as individuals, as men in our communities, to try to, like, you know, ring true with that message. Teach our kids, teach our sons how to treat women better, teach our daughters how to stay strong and not let nobody take advantage of them. Teach our kids to have pride in who they are, right? That's on us. But at the same time, you know what I'm saying, having the willingness to fight. A lot of us, it's hard, and I'm speaking. You know, I'm not going to say that I'm willing to, you know, give it up all right now. Wow, looks so nice. Yes, right. I can't just go out there. And, I can't just go out there and say, I'm just going to give up everything and fight. It is a difficult decision, because, you know, I look at my family, what I have to lose. But if you're in a position where you can do that, or even if you're not, if you're going to stand for something, you have to really stand for something. And I think now is the time we're starting to see a lot of the young people, a lot of the players are taking that stance. Like, look, man, I'm gonna do it. I'm not worried about that. You think LeBron worrying too much about it now? No. Now don't get me wrong. The climate has changed, because, you know, it's popular now to, you know, support, you know, people of color now. You get what I'm saying? It's popular. Back when Colin Kaepernick did it, it wasn't so popular. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's a lot easier for a lot of the other people who wouldn't have done it to do it. And as you get older, you mature, and I think that what happened with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan always felt, the plight of black people, but he knew back then because he grew up in a different era. Like I gotta, just get this money from these people. I gotta say the right things. I don't lose out on getting my money. And at the end of the day, his goal was to be an owner eventually, have businesses to take care of his family. And now that he's in this position,
Now he using
all
his
fluent. Like, yo, I'm
right.
gonna say what I gotta say because now it's too egregious.
So-
Now we need more black owners. We need more black executives. It can't just stop with just the players doing all the work and
Do
these
you
people reaping the
you
benefits of it. You know what I'm saying?
Do you know that Washington, the Washington, formerly known as Redskins,
Yeah.
before they hired him, there was no African American general manager or president in the NFL until the Redskins. I mean, football team. Sorry, Washington football team hired. I forgot his name, but he's the only African American. Little things like that. Front office ownership. Like Michael Jordan is the only majority owner in all 4 major sports. African American, the only one.
Yeah. And there's a boys club. You know that.
Only
Jason
one.
Wright. Jason Wright is his name.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
Right.
Jason Wright is the kid, the president. But yeah, Michael's the only one. You have your minorities. You have minority owner. You have guys that got stakes in the team. Jay-Z did. Nelly had a stake. I forgot who else. Usher. I think it's the Hawks. So guys have minority stakes, but majority, like we need that. We need that because I think that can help. Because owners have relationships. They're billionaires. They have relationship with politicians.
Absolutely.
These things help. These things help, and that's what Michael is trying to do. A lot of people criticize Mike because he wasn't out there marching. Listen, I heard a lot of these athletes talk it, but you never see them either. You see some guys, but you don't see everyone. So everybody that you said
always kind of close to the chest with his stuff. He donated.
no. And listen, Mike. Mike is one of those guys that he never promoted everything. And I mean, I know I'm defending him, and I know a lot of people, will probably say, you're just standing up, defending him and everything. But he's not really obligated to do that. Like that's not a part of his, his job title. It's actually a choice whether you want to stand up and fight. Like a lot of these athletes, I don't take it personal if they don't do it. And I'm not just saying that because he was like that as a player, but he's doing it now. Like, let's not worry about what he did as a player, and he's doing it now.
No, I get
now,
that. I mean,
no, I'm not saying it directly.
time.
I'm not directing it to you or anything.
No,
I'm
I'm
saying
not
in
saying
general.
you're saying it to me either. But I'm just trying to say like how based on that analogy, because I was saying the same thing, and some people had that kind of feeling. Right. But my thing is like this: people grow, people mature. I think what it is a lot of times when you're a person of color. And it is like the other cultures, they tend to, and we don't know 100% because we know we're not of those cultures. They tend to support each other on certain levels. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Where you see like a Jewish person, some white people do that. I'm not trying to say like that because that's another way of like kind of like mentally making us feel like inferior in a sense where like, oh, we're not supporting each other. But when we have the similar plight, you know what I mean? You want to try to work with each other and help those people. Now, granted, I'm not trying to say that you give your money or your help and your resource or your platform to any willy-nilly person who might not be necessarily, for the cause. You know what I'm saying? That's because they're black. Doesn't mean that they 100% care about you or care about the community and stuff like that. But things that you can help, you can do that. Michael Jordan has been known to be helping out his home state of of North Carolina and doing what he had to do. So, but like you said, you know what I mean? You can't put it on these players and they're not obligated to do that. And that, like you pointed out, like a lot of the players was reaching out to the owners in the meeting. Like, look, we need you guys to do more. You guys have the ears of these lobbyists and these politicians because you guys got the money. And like I said earlier, and we all have said, money is what runs this world in this country. Right. So whoever got the money will make the change. Like, look, they don't have to like us. But if you bring in that money like that, like when they were saying having these blackouts and not spend money on certain days, it's because it's powerful. What we did back in the day when we was collective front fighting on a different scale, because we didn't have these sense of freedoms that we have now, we utilized that money. When that bus company wasn't getting that bread, they had to make a change, even though they hated us. They had to make a change because they wanted that money. When we had our own money and we had the Black Wall Street and we was keeping our money within our communities and we were successful, what happened? They were mad because they seen black people with nice cars and pianos in their living rooms and fur coats and living it up. and having a good old time that they decided to come and destroy it and bomb it and kill people and do all that grimy stuff. The real terrorists, you know what I'm saying? And I don't want to get too you know
Yeah, we're
you know,
getting too deep in it.
yeah, what I mean? But at the end of the day, you understand this. It's a level of frustration, and we are fed up. So now I'm happy that we had the discussion, guys. I really am happy that the players came to a resolution. I'm happy that the owners understood and listened. I'm happy that the sports world united in a sense to like really show their distaste for that. And that's how. And I hate to make it a spiritual thing, but that's how God works, man. You only can do things for a season, man. You can't continue to do these things, man. And like what that Jacob Blake shooting showed was that despite all the stuff that people were saying, despite all the moving forward and the Black Lives Matter plastered on the street, them cops still felt comfortable enough to go out there and shoot him, knowing that they were not going to have any repercussions for the most part. And same thing with that little kid, that little punk who drove from Chicago with his family with a gun, who's underage to have that type of gun to shoot protesters because he felt that he was being like a hero. You know what I'm saying? They try to humanize him, throw him into jail. You know what I'm saying? Under the joint. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I'm happy that we had this opportunity. The games will be resuming this afternoon. The schedule that was for Wednesday will be starting at 3:30 today, and we'll take it from there, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
well, what do you guys think? What are you calling these 3 games tonight? How
I mean, I think the Orlando series is gonna be over. Milwaukee. It depends how Milwaukee come out and play. If they still, you're gonna feel kind of weird coming back to play. So this game might be kind of like slow pace and up in the air. So I would say that Milwaukee will still win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Orlando sneak one off on them. Portland, they getting bumped tonight. Damian Lillard's hurt; he ain't playing, and Houston game should be a competitive game. But like I said, the players still, even though they decided
Westbrook's
to still play, I know, but even though they still decided to play, when you come from such an emotional like thing that just happened, boycotting and the anger and the frustration in these meetings, and I'm pretty sure they spent up all night sitting at the pools talking about it and doing this different things. I think that their mind is not there yet. This weekend set of games are going to be kind of sloppy and surprising. Whereas come next week when things start to get quote unquote normal, I think the games will start to pick up again. But for right now, that's how I see it. But if you guys have anything else we can add, if not, we can wrap up.
Yeah, I'll make it real quick. I'm picking Milwaukee. I'm going with Houston because Westbrook's going to be back. I think that'll help take the load off of Harden. And I feel bad about this one, but no Dame Dollar. I would love to have seen him again one last time. But Portland, they're going fishing tonight.
Yeah, I gotta pick the same thing. Milwaukee, Houston, Westbrook is back, like Tyrone just said, and then the Lakers gonna close out. Dame already left the bubble to go, I guess, get his knee checked out. Whatever he got to get done is over for them tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much feel the same. No Dame. Lakers got that. I feel like Milwaukee is going to come out and finish off that series.
Unanimous decision.
And, yeah.
I have one thing
in
to
Houston.
say, though. After Melik's finished, I'm going to throw a monkey wrench and all that. Go ahead, Melik.
No, I was saying, and I think Houston with Westbrook coming
back. Yeah, he
back,
just said.
Yeah,
he pretty much agreed with everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in regards to the Lakers, what if LeBron said, you know what, I ain't playing. I was leaving. I ain't playing. And then he do some Malcolm X joint where they go in the court. You remember that movie Malcolm X, Denzel Washington? He was talking to the people. And he took all the people, he pointed the finger, everybody walked out. You know what I'm saying? What if he did that? LeBron said, it ain't over. It ain't over.
The tone of your voice let me know you was going to say something silly.
You never know. So LeBron walk out, you know what I'm saying? They fall in that game, they'll pull it back in it.
I thought you was going to say something crazy like they was going to lock LeBron in the locker room or something. Nah. But you hit us with the Malcolm X.
You know what it is? Like, they were saying, can you think about it? I think the reason why, and I'm going to say this.
They might ice him, son. They might ice him.
Who knows? I think the reason why.
They might do it on a Michael Jordan All-Star game and ice him.
Right? I think the reason why he decided he wanted to leave because he was pissed, obviously. And also, and then who knows? I think he might have offended some of his players. So they might have that kind of chemistry issue now. You know what I'm saying? You don't know. I think the reason why he didn't want to play, and the Clippers are like, look, if the Lakers ain't playing, we ain't playing. Because what's the point? Because they're like, it ain't gonna be no valid chip, so we ain't gonna play either. But look, man, at the end of the day, I'm glad that there was a resolution. I'm glad. Excuse me. I'm glad that these owners had committed more so. And like I said, the NBA have some really progressive owners in the sense like that. Don't get me wrong. They might still got some underlying racism and don't really care. But most of the owners, they understand the players are their business tool and business partner. I hate to say tool, but they're business partners. And if they have the players playing and they happy, right, then we'll be good. Whereas like other organizations like the NFL, if them players ain't playing, they're like, all right, get him out of here. Get that cat I saw at the bus station throwing football with his son to come up and play. He'll be a new third string quarterback or whatever, and do things like that. So it is what it is. But yeah, guys, I want to thank you guys for listening. I'm not sure how long this one is going to be. It's probably an hour and a half, but thank you for the time. Thank you for understanding where we're coming from and giving us this platform to do it. I want to thank Tyrone, Menelek, and Hollister for coming through again, and
That's right.
we make this thing go out there more. And please like, comment, share, and subscribe.
And go vote.
And then, yes, go vote, man. It's real, man. I know we don't have great choices. I know that.
Yes, we do. We got one great choice.
I know. I'm just trying to say. Don't get me wrong.
No. You don't got to get into nothing. I just threw that in there.
Say this, and I know. I'm just trying to say for the people. A lot of people take this stance. I have many friends who say the same thing. You know what I mean? I've been to school. We all been to school, and we understand for the most part how politics work. Most people feel that when they vote for the president get a reset button. The president could do everything. This is not a dictatorship. This is democracy, quote unquote. So you have many levels of, offices. So when you vote for the president, that's one step, but the president can't single-handedly make changes. The Congress, House,
it's even your in-state. It's your in-state. It's your in-state officials,
council, everything. So you want those changes, you gotta vote all the way through, not just
right.
Election. Right. You gotta vote for your local offices.
But when it does come to the president, there's only one great choice.
Yeah.
Look,
also, the last one.
No, I'm just saying.
Now we're starting to become to the point where it's like you got to start paying us for our vote. And I'm not mean literally in money, but you got to start giving us things.
I do. I want some money.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm trying to say, like, a lot of times we've been just going with the Democratic Party just because they're the ones who say the most nicest thing, but they also ain't doing nothing for us for the most part. So what we got to understand is that we got to get to the point where we got to hold these politicians accountable for the stuff they have promised and stuff they're going to do. And I like what the players did, because the players held the owners accountable to make sure and put the pressure on them to make sure that they do what they're going to do. And this is just a sign of what's to come. So you guys, like we said, go out there and vote, because it's not a legal thing in the Constitution for people of color to vote. That every so often, I forgot how many years, they have to reappend that thing. That shouldn't even be an appendage. We should be able to be locked in forever to vote. So y'all gotta be careful. Y'all see what this administration has done. I'm moving post office things and moving freaking mailboxes, and you're making your mail come slow. This is done on purpose. So don't be ignorant. Don't be naive. Right. Still go out there. Y'all going out there to freaking party and get McDonald's and sit online, y'all can go out there and vote. Right? Don't be like, oh, I don't want to sit around people. Y'all go and do that. All right. I'm not trying to sound like a chastising person, but we got to take that. We got to really, go out there and do what we got to do. And that's all I got to say about that one. Unless you guys got any, salutations y'all want to say, I'm going to end it.
Yeah. Once again, rest in peace, Cliff Robertson, Chadwick Boseman.
Yes, sir.
Black Panther.
Yes,
and also, I know he was a little older. You guys may not be familiar with him, but on Wednesday, a coach that I grew up watching, coach Arizona, Lute Olson, passed away. Coach Steve Kerr, Sean Elliott, Damon Stoudemire, and college basketball, died at the age of 85. So say rest in peace to him too. I'm a college basketball guy, so I know who he is.
I heard that too, yeah.
So a lot of deaths going on in 2020, but it's pretty much like that every year. It's just that, it's the players and the celebrities that we know, it's a sad thing. It goes back to, David Stern and Kobe, and, it's pretty sad. So I just want to say rest in peace to them. Definitely. And that's all.
Yeah, rest in peace to all those guys, and happy birthday to Michael Jackson.
That's right.
Right. King of pop.
King of pop, man.
Go.
Yeah. Just rest in peace once again to all those
shout out
guys, and
also want to give a shout out to our native land Trinidad and Tobago will be celebrating their independence on August 31st.
Yes,
There you go.
I was supposed to be out there this year, but the pandemic stopped me. So
Next year.
Monday is the 30th independence of Trinidad and Tobago. So that's where our family's from. That's our bloodline. So just want to say shout out to Trinidad and Tobago.
And with that, we out.